A big promise from a prince, the future king's mission to end homelessness. Prince William's project follows Finland's lead, but critics say it's a government issue, not a royal one.
Today is the day we launch Homewards, a transformative 5-year programme that will demonstrate that it is possible to end homelessness.
Also ahead, Nicola Bully was alive when she fell into the water. The inquest into her death opens in Preston. The latest on the fallout from the failed Russian rebellion as Putin's defence minister is pictured in Ukraine. Shocking but unsurprising. Stephen Lawrence's mother reacts to news the Met didn't investigate a 6th key suspect in her son's murder. The water company blaming working from home for the first hosepipe ban of the year. And
how wonderful life is while you're in the world.
how wonderful for the crowds to witness Sir Elton smash his Glastonbury debut and what could be his final UK show.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. The future king is on a mission to end homelessness in the UK, and it starts today. Prince William says his 5-year project is to ensure all types of homelessness are rare, brief and unrepeated. Can he succeed? Well, he says Finland has virtually eradicated the problem. But critics say this is an issue for the government and not one that can be solved by a member of the royal family. Chloe Keedy has the story.
This was Prince William getting ready to put his coffee-making skills to the test.
Do I wear one of these because I'm not trusted to spill it? Is that what it is?
And coffee is something he might need more of over the next 2 days. Lambeth is the first location on a whistle-stop tour that will take him to 6 different towns and cities all over the UK. But that is just the start of this particular mission, the launch of a project he hopes will end homelessness for good.
After so many years in the making, today is the day we launch Homewards, a transformative 5-year programme that will demonstrate that it is possible to end homelessness. Lambeth is now part of a network of 6 flagship Homewards locations across the UK, all committed to creating and delivering a plan to prevent homelessness in their areas.
This has long been a cause close to the Prince's heart, ever since he was taken to a homeless shelter by his mother, Princess Diana, when he was just 11 years old. He has since become patron of 2 homeless charities. In 2009, he slept rough for a night in central London, and last year he was spotted selling copies of The Big Issue.
What does home mean to you?
His new 5-year project aims to find new ways of creating homes at scale, emulating Finland, which has virtually eradicated homelessness. But the Prince has been criticised by those who say he's straying beyond his brief.
He is distracting attention from the real issue. This is very much a political issue. It comes down to government policy and government funding. And, you know, when it comes from someone who's got multiple huge palatial homes and who we are providing with a private income of £22 million off the Duchy of Cornwall, I think a lot of people would also think it's somewhat hypocritical.
But the television presenter Gail Porter, who has herself experienced homelessness, believes this project could help stop it happening to others.
We want to talk to people before they get into the situation that I got into, because you just kind of ignore it. Then I was too proud. Then it was like the hidden homeless, and I was asking people if I could stay on their sofa. But I got through it, and I think Prince William's just using his platform to just do a great thing.
The Prince has given himself 5 years to see if he can use it to create real change. Chloe Keedy, ITV News.
We can go live now to our royal editor, Chris Shipp, who's in South Wales, where the Prince will be visiting later. Chris, an ambitious aim and one that's left him open to some criticism.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can doubt the ambition of the Prince's aim to attempt to eradicate the issue of homelessness, particularly in the 6 locations he's visiting over the next couple of days within the next 5 years or so. The trouble is, as you've been hearing, when you enter a space such as homelessness, you do open yourself up to criticism that you're dealing with an issue that's not yours to deal with. For example, Prince William is saying that we should emulate what they've done in Finland. Essentially what they've done there is they've had a very sort of localised approach. He believes there's not a one-size-fits-all thing. You can't do something in London as you can, for example, here in South Wales. You've got to attack it from a local position, and you've got to keep going back and back and back and not giving up on it. Therefore, you could argue that Prince William's saying, well, look, the government hasn't done its job. It hasn't focused on this enough. It hasn't put in the effort that is required. And that's why you have campaign groups like Republic, the campaign group which thinks we should have an elected head of state, saying this isn't your job. It's the government's job. We need the government to act here, not to use their phrase, royal platitudes. Of course, Kensington Palace say, look, this is an area where he can bring people together. He's got experience. His mother took him to a homeless shelter when he was just 11 years old, and he can bring people together and deal with this in a way in which politicians simply can't.
Chris Shipp, thank you. The inquest has opened into the death of Nicola Bully, the mother of 2, whose body was found in a river in Lancashire in January. A Home Office pathologist told the court she had died as a result of drowning and was alive when she fell into the river. Our North of England correspondent Rachel Townsend is at Preston Coroner's Court. Rachel, take us through what you've heard so far today.
Well, Nina, there has been a huge public interest and sense of mystery surrounding Nicola's disappearance. This inquest hopes to establish exactly what happened in the build-up to her death. Now, you may remember that Nicola went missing after dropping her 2 young children at school in St Michael's on Wyre in Lancashire back in January. She had been walking her dog shortly afterwards along the River Wyre. Her phone, which was still connected to a work conference call, was found on a bench overlooking the river. But it was over 3 weeks before Nicola's body was found around 1.5 miles downstream. Well, her family are all in court today and have requested that she is referred to as Nikki throughout this 2-day inquest. Now, we heard from the Home Office pathologist, Dr. Alison Armour, who examined Nikki's body. Now, we know that Nikki was identified through her dental records. Dr. Armour described her decomposing body, saying her face and her hair were covered in mud. Dr. Armour told the inquest she believes the cause of death was drowning and that Nikki was alive when she went into the water. She added that in her opinion, there was no evidence that Nikki had been assaulted prior to going into the water and no evidence of any third-party involvement. We are expecting to hear from Nikki's family tomorrow.
Rachel Townsend, thank you. There's yet more mortgage misery for the hundreds of thousands of people who need to remortgage. The average 2-year fixed rate is now at its highest since November, following the chaos of Liz Truss's mini-budget. Vincent McAvenny is at Westminster. This has become quite a big political issue, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, because it affects so many millions of people across the country, many of whom will have been used to historically low rates since 2008 and won't have experienced a shock like this. So last week, the Bank of England raised the base rate 0.5 percentage point from 4.5% to 5%. That's because the Governor, Andrew Bailey, and the committee that sets the rate believes that this is the best way to combat high and sticky inflation. Now, as a result, as you mentioned there, the mortgage rates are at their highest since November. The average 2-year fixed residential has gone up from 6.19% on Friday to 6.23% this morning, while the average 5-year fixed residential mortgage rate has inched up from 5.83 on Friday to 5.86. Now, what this means for hundreds of thousands of people across the country whose fixed rates are set to expire in the next few months, they'll be going from paying a rate that was around 1.5 to 2%. This will mean that they'll be paying hundreds, if not thousands, more per month, and they'll have to decide whether to fix at this new higher rate or to take a gamble and go for a tracker mortgage in the hope that there's a pause or a reduction in rates soon.
And Downing Street is putting pressure on the banks today.
Yeah, that's right. This morning, Downing Street said they absolutely expect banks to pass through the higher rates to savers as they are for mortgages. And they say they're working closely with the Financial Conduct Authority to ensure that this happens. Now, they say one of the best ways to help bring down inflation is to get more people saving and not spending. They're also calling on supermarkets to pass on the savings because food prices are a big part of high inflation. And we're starting to see many on the backbench of the Conservative Party criticising the Bank of England, even though it's independent. They believe that these high rates are going to cost them at the election next year.
Vincent McAvenny, thank you. Confusion reigns in Moscow this lunchtime after the aborted rebellion at the weekend, organised by the head of the Wagner mercenary group. The Kremlin said yesterday that it was dropping all charges against Yevgeny Prigozhin, but today there are reports he is still being investigated. It's believed the rebellion was in response to his disapproval of President Putin's defence minister, who has been seen on video visiting troops in Ukraine. Our correspondent Emma Murphy is in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Emma, a developing and concerning and confusing story. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's certainly all of those things, Nina. And you mentioned there that there's confusion in Moscow. I think that's confusion that's spread around the world, and global powers are trying to work out exactly what the events of the past few days means. The one thing there seems to be a degree of consensus on is that whatever went on over the past few days, whatever drove it, whatever caused the responses that there were and were not, is likely to have significantly weakened President Putin's position. In terms of him, there's been no formal response or comment on what's gone on. He has issued a statement this morning that was put out on the Kremlin's website, congratulating a youth group on some work that they'd been doing, but made absolutely no reference whatsoever to the fact that the events of the weekend had taken place. There's very much an attempt, I think, coming out of the Kremlin to try and make things look like business as usual. And we saw also this video of the defence minister going around what's supposed to be one of the main control centres for the war in Ukraine. And there's big questions over that. They seem to be really wondering when this had been filmed, whether it is genuine. He hasn't been seen in the last few days, so there are questions as to his position. And then, of course, questions too as to the leader of the Wagner group, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He's not been seen since he was told he could take exile in Belarus. There was amazement by many within Kremlin circles that he was allowed to leave, and leave apparently without any kind of sanction for what's gone on. So really at the moment it's a matter of waiting to see where he next turns up and if there is any reference from the Kremlin to what's gone on over the past days.
Emma Murphy, for now. Thank you very much. Thank you. The Duchess of York has urged listeners of her podcast to go for screening after she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Sarah Ferguson said her diagnosis was a wake-up call to get super fit. Rachel Younger has the details.
As patron of the Teenage Cancer Trust, the Duchess of York is familiar with the toll that cancer can take. But despite that, she nearly skipped her routine mammogram, only going when her sister insisted. And that's why she's decided to speak out on her Tea Talk podcast.
It doesn't matter. Go and get checked. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Don't say it's not going to happen to you. Doesn't matter if you feel fine, because cancer can be so silent, such a silent little hiding thing which hides in the cells. Go get screened.
Fergie and friends.
Ooh, it's so exciting. We've got palm trees.
A picture of health on her YouTube channel this month. Having reinvented herself as a children's author, the Duchess told her listeners she'd been focused on fixing other people's problems. She says she's hugely thankful to the medical professionals who found her cancer at an early stage during an NHS mammogram. The mastectomy that was needed carried out within days at the private King Edward VII Hospital, which has treated the royals for decades.
In the NHS, our waiting times are quite long at the moment for cancer, and so that is very quick indeed. We should be aspiring to that sort of speed in the NHS. But we send her our best, and she's done a great thing talking about this now. So the fact that we can have this conversation about the importance of early diagnosis and the importance of having a mammogram, fantastic. Well done her.
Married to Prince Andrew for a decade, the Duchess still shares a home with him in Windsor and is understood to be recuperating there. with her prognosis described by her spokesperson as good.
Do you do this often?
Yeah, always on the Saturday morning.
A woman who's often been frank about life as a royal, choosing to discuss her diagnosis in the hope that others won't hesitate to get checked. Rachel Younger, ITV News.
The Metropolitan Police has apologised for mistakes made in the Stephen Lawrence case 30 years ago. The apology comes after a BBC investigation named a sixth suspect in the racist murder. The man, Matthew White, was arrested twice over the killing, but no action was taken. He died in 2021. Reacting to the development, Stephen's mother, Doreen Lawrence, said officers who failed to properly investigate evidence should face serious sanctions. I'm joined by our correspondent, John Ray. Baroness Lawrence also said that she has got used to a litany of failings in the case.
Yeah, but still fresh agony for the family and the friends of Stephen Lawrence. An apology again from the Met and fresh acute embarrassment for London's police force. Their botched investigation into Stephen Lawrence's murder is well documented. Incompetent and racist, two malign forces which went hand in hand. But now this new damning revelation and the naming publicly of a suspect, Matthew White, as you said, Nina, treated, though, by police for years and years as merely a witness. That's despite the fact that he physically resembled the man who allegedly led the attack, despite the fact that a relative of his went to the police and named him. That report was misfiled and not followed up in time. Now, we all know, of course, that two men, Gary Dobson and David Norris, were eventually, 20 years on, convicted of murder. But White himself, he died 2 years ago, a free man, and there are three other men who have not been convicted for this offence. The Met said today that twice we reported White to the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service. Twice we were told there was insufficient evidence to take it further. That brought this stinging response from Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Stephen's mother. She said, I'm going to read this to you, the failure to properly investigate a main suspect in a murder case is so grave that it should be met by serious sanctions. Only when police lose their jobs can the public have confidence that failure and incompetence will not be tolerated and that change will happen. So it's a case, again, of no justice for Stephen Lawrence and more embarrassment for the Met.
John Ray, thank you. South East Water has imposed the first hosepipe ban of the summer. It started today across Kent and Sussex. The water firm put the ban down to increased levels of working from home. It means people are banned from using hosepipes to water gardens, clean cars or fill swimming pools. Our science correspondent Martin Stew is at Arlington Reservoir in East Sussex. Martin, a hosepipe ban this early in the summer is unusual.
It certainly is, yeah. We saw them widespread across the country, but not this early. Let's just show you the area that's going to be affected. It covers parts of Kent and Sussex. As you mentioned, you won't be able to fill your paddling pool, water your garden with a hose or wash a boat if you are lucky enough to have one. Now, the reason that the South East Water say it needs to be brought in isn't to do with a lack of water. Just look behind me. This is Arlington Reservoir. I was stood here last summer. I was on the banks. It was parched, it was dry, it was cracked. It's 84% full today. The issue, they say, is the ability to get enough water to customers quick enough because of that demand. You mentioned, they said, working from home. They claim that has seen a 20% uptick in the demand for fresh tap water that they are just simply struggling to cope with. That hasn't, though, washed particularly well with people living in the area.
It's very frustrating because, as I say, we don't have so many customers come in. They decide to put their gardens on hold because they haven't got the water to look after them. And this early on makes it really tricky because it's one of our busier times.
Now, South East Water actually is hitting its target for leaks, although it is still leaking 89 million litres every single day. It's been relatively controversial as well. Just a couple of weeks ago, 4 schools had to close because there wasn't any supply of water. That was caused because pipes cracked in this very dry weather, something which does happen quite regularly. The company says it's investing huge amounts of money. It wants to build a new reservoir. But there is a wider issue to this. There's a finite amount of water and there is more people and more demand. So one very legitimate argument is you try and limit things now with a frustrating but relatively mild hosepipe ban to stop much more draconian measures later in the summer.
Martin, thank you. Finally, What a performance, what a way to say goodbye. Sir Elton John stormed Glastonbury at his debut at the festival last night. It could also be his final ever show in the UK. It's certainly his final appearance in the country on his farewell tour. Today he said thank you to the huge crowds watching there and at home, saying, "You will be in my heart and soul forever." Here's Sally Biddulph.
When you've been in the business 5 decades, there aren't many career firsts left. But this was one of them for Sir Elton John.
I never thought I'd ever play Glastonbury. And here I am. And it's a very special and emotional night for me because it may be my last show ever in England, in Great Britain. So I better play well.
And he did just that. Hit after hit after hit to close Glastonbury. Guests peppered the lineup too, like the London Community Gospel Choir. Famous fans like Sir Paul McCartney looked on from the side of the stage, while the crowd, more than 100,000 strong, covered the festival site. The concert was also deeply personal, Sir Elton paying his own tribute to friend George Michael.
He's an inspiration, and today would have been his 60th birthday.
Riding the festival wave today, Sir Elton wrote, "Thank you, Glastonbury. The energy last night was like nothing else, and I couldn't be more grateful to the crowd and the people watching at home for all your love and support. You will be in my heart and soul forever. UK, what a farewell. I love you." Sally Biddulph, ITV News.
That's all from us for now. Bye-bye.